I mentioned a couple of days ago the great news that in a recall election, 3 of the most left-wing members of the San Francisco School Board were tossed out. And tossed out not by some 51-49 margin, but giant margins in excess of 70% in all cases. Now, these 3 leftists on the school board, I mean, they are actually probably 3 of the dumbest people in San Francisco. I'm talking here about Gabriela Lopez, Fauga Moliga, and Allison Collins. And they were part of this group that was pushing to rename the schools in San Francisco. And to get an idea of how monumentally inane these guys are, they wanted to they wanted to kick off Washington because he was a slave owner. So that's it. Enough said. With Lincoln, they couldn't say that he was a slave owner because he wasn't. So they go, Lincoln's policies were, quote, detrimental to native peoples. 1 strike and you're out. But to me, the funniest one was Paul Revere. And so apparently somebody did a kind of a Wikipedia or Google search. This is the extent of scholarship at the San Francisco School Board. And they said that Paul Revere had taken part in an expedition that stole the land of the Penobscot Indians. Well, it turns out they misread the article. Revere did have a role in what's called the Penobscot Expedition, but this was a campaign against the British, not against the Indians. So Paul Revere essentially was kicked off of school for reasons that had nothing to do with what the guy actually did. Now, reacting to their expulsion, the head of the San Francisco School Board, and this is Gabriela Lopez, she tweets out, she goes, "So if you fight for racial justice, this is the consequence. Don't be mistaken. White supremacists are enjoying this. And the support of the recall is aligned with this." So she's basically acting like the recall was led by white supremacists. Now think about this. 70% of the voters in San Francisco, are white supremacists. Now, the truth is, first of all, in San Francisco, illegals can vote locally. And so illegals were part of the vote to throw these 3 scoundrels out. Number 2, the gay community had organized as part of the recall. In fact, what kind of makes me chuckle, the guy leading the gay effort is a guy who dressed up as Abraham Lincoln, and he called himself Gabraham Lincoln. So Gabraham Lincoln was leading the gay effort to throw these leftists out. And then the Chinese played a leading role in this effort. And one of the sponsors of the recall resolution, an Indian guy, Siva Raj. So this whole notion that these white supremacists are doing this, no, this is leftists coming to the dismaying realization that the very ethnic groups and the very kind of identity politics groups they champion, those people themselves don't like this nonsense. They want good schools. They like Abraham Lincoln. They like George Washington. They like Paul Revere. Well, the next big recall coming up in San Francisco, and this I'm going to be watching closely in the summer, Chesa Boudin, adopted son of one Bill Ayers. This is a guy who has been, letting criminals out left and right. Very bad guy. And think of it, the very bad guy, the wolf, if you will, is guarding the hen house. And so, again, he's on the ballot, and I hope the San Francisco voters recognize that if you want a city that's even halfway safe, it's time to recall Chesa Boudin.